Elite Facts presents
10 of the greatest Undertaker matches, 1990 to 2017.
10.
Versus Jeff Hardy, ladder match on Raw in 2002. We start off our list with a match from way back in 2002 and the only match on the list involving Monday Night Raw. During 2002, Jeff Hardy decided to pursue a solo career away from his brother and tag team partner Matt, and in a very unexpected turn was thrown into a ladder match against The Undertaker for the WWE Undisputed Championship. During the match, Undertaker was in full heel mode and no doubt was the #1 choice to win, but Hardy, while classed as the extreme underdog in the matchup, gave the Taker one of the best Monday night matches ever. The crowd had bought into this matchup an insane amount, and they were vocal throughout. There were moments where you almost believed that Jeff was going to win this match, as he came so close to grabbing the title on several occasions, but each time, Taker would find a way to stop him, eventually choke-slamming the young Hardy from the ladder straight to the mat. Undertaker climbed up the ladder and secured the title for the win. Feeling a little generous after the match, Undertaker proceeded to hit a last ride on Jeff, but after several minutes, Hardy staggered to his feet and called to The Undertaker, telling him, "I'm still standing." As expected, Taker returned to the ring, picked up Hardy, and just when you thought he would be handed those final blows, the veteran raised Hardy's arm as a sign of respect, well earned. A very cool moment for both Jeff Hardy and the fans.
9.
Versus Edge, Hell in a Cell match at SummerSlam in 2008. An incredible match that should possibly be higher on this list, but of course, this being The Undertaker, it's extremely hard to choose from so many great matches over the years. This matchup saw both opponents at their most vicious and most cruel, a match that was undoubtedly going to play out like a modern-day Shawn Michaels Undertaker Cell match, with the Phenom standing tall, stalking his undersized prey. But in what is now seen as a fantastic bit of storytelling, we witnessed Edge dominate most of the match, utilizing every tactic and weapon he could muster just to keep the dead man down. Things turned vicious, with the R-rated superstar spearing The Undertaker through the cage wall, followed by a second spear through the announcer's table. However, even in giving everything he had, it was still not enough to keep the Taker down. In typical dead man fashion, he would arise from the mat ready to land the final blows. 2 tables smashed as Edge's body came crashing down, then a brutal spear followed by a concerto, mocking Edge as he was hit by his own signature moves. Then Taker lands the tombstone for the 3 count. When all was said and done, and you didn't think it could get any better, Undertaker dragged Edge up a ladder and proceeded to throw him off, sending him crashing through the ring all the way to hell.
8.
Versus Kane at WrestleMania 14 in 1998. For a match that dates so far back in Undertaker's career, this one was definitely an unexpected gem. The build-up to this match was electrifying. Kane had made his debut at Bad Blood the previous year during the first ever Hell in a Cell match featuring Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. It was a debut that cost his big brother Undertaker the match. Because of this interference, a match between the two was inevitable, although for a long time Undertaker refused to fight his brother until Kane took things into his own hands when he locked Taker in a casket at the Royal Rumble and then set fire to it. During an episode of Raw a month or 2 later, the dead man made his triumphant return, stating that he would go back on his vow and fight Kane. Thus, the WrestleMania 14 match had been set. Winning the power battle early, Kane went on to use the steel steps while the referee was distracted by Paul Bearer. His onslaught continued for a while until Taker began to fight back, hitting a heavy clothesline, only to be met by a chokeslam by an on-the-offensive Kane. Taker later took control, however, hitting a suplex and a big boot on Kane, but again fell short as he missed Kane and came crashing down onto the announcer's table during a dive to the outside. Back and forth reversals continued throughout the match, with Kane even reversing a tombstone, actually kicking out from 2 of them, which was the first time anyone had ever kicked out of such a move. Undertaker finally got the win with a clothesline from the top rope before hitting a 3rd and final tombstone on his brother. Very solid and entertaining match.
7.
Versus Kurt Angle, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Rikishi, The Rock, and Triple H. Hell in a Cell match at Armageddon 2000. This entry sits at number 7 due to how entertaining the whole match ended up being. It didn't involve Undertaker in the spotlight, but he had some pretty memorable moments throughout. Armageddon 2000 had as a main event a six-man Hell in a Cell match, which already sounds like total chaos, right? And chaos it was. An early portion of the match saw several pinfall attempts and a lot of the wrestlers trying to bust each other open. It wasn't until halfway through the match that Vince McMahon, Pat Patterson, and Gerald Briscoe appeared on the back of a truck surrounded by pine chips. Their intention? Well, they wanted to stop this chaotic match by tearing the cell down. Thankfully, Mick Foley, who was commissioner at the time, came down and ordered the trio to allow the match to continue. Since the door was now missing, everyone took it upon themselves to take the action elsewhere. During this time, we saw everyone bleed. We witnessed Stone Cold Steve Austin go through a car window and Triple H get a slingshot into a car. But none of this could compete with what happened next. Rikishi took to following Undertaker to the top of the cell, where the pair traded countless blows until they ended up near the edge of the cell. Undertaker saw this as a moment to take advantage of, so he grabbed Rikishi and with what was half a chokeslam and half a push, toppled the 425-pounder off the top of the cell and straight into the pine chips that lay in the back of the van.
6.
Versus Edge at WrestleMania 24 in 2008. Undoubtedly, one of the more technical matches undertaken throughout his career was when he met Edge at WrestleMania 24. After meeting Batista a year earlier in what was quite a heavy-hitting, tough guy matchup, it was great to see how versatile and incredible Undertaker could really be. It was a match mostly centered around finesse and counters, but definitely a moment that established the Undertaker could create a great match, whatever the circumstances. Edge and Undertaker both had a fair amount of control throughout the fight. Punches and counters were traded back and forth, but looking back now, it was quite an unlikely place for the legendary streak to be broken, as there really weren't many near falls or submissions that would cause you to think Edge was the man for the job. But there is a kind of joy to be found in how brilliantly wrestled this match was, ending with a fantastic spear into the Hell's Gate submission, forcing Edge to submit and winning the World Heavyweight Championship. To some, this is as great as an Undertaker match got without the presence of Shawn Michaels. Edge was probably the most cunning, opportunistic, and ruthless opponent Undertaker had faced over the years, and showed that by creating a match that had many fans on the edge of their seats. No pun intended.
5.
Versus Kurt Angle at No Way Out in 2006. Classed as two of the greatest of all time, Kurt Angle and Undertaker met for a memorable match at No Way Out in 2006. This is the kind of match you would show to a new wrestler in order to show them how to tell a story in the ring. Not only did this match have some fantastic two-count moments, it also involved a lot of close calls from submission holds, as was to be expected if you were in the ring with someone like Kurt Angle. It's sometimes forgotten just how good Kurt Angle actually was in his prime, and we can't fault how good a shape Undertaker was in for this match either. The match started in Undertaker's favor as he took control early, hitting Old School and Snake Eyes on Angle. The tables turned after Angle landed a German suplex and later sent Undertaker through the barricade. Undertaker again took control as the pair battled back and forth in this hard-hitting, counter-filled match. Angle reversed a chokeslam. Taker reversed an ankle lock. Moves were missed. There were kickouts aplenty, and both men had taken their fair share of punishment. After countering each other's signature moves several times, it came to an end when Angle managed to plant an angle slam on Taker, smashing him through the broadcast table. Back in the ring, Undertaker tried to apply a triangle choke, but Angle managed to counter into a roll-up pin, thus retaining his title. Again, another loss for Undertaker in a match that sometimes gets lost due to it being on the pay-per-view before WrestleMania. But had it actually got the main event spot at Mania, it would probably be looked at as one of the greatest WrestleMania matches in history.
4.
Versus CM Punk at WrestleMania 29 in 2014. Another man to put on an Undertaker match rivaling that of Shawn Michaels' work is the undersized, cocky technician CM Punk. We all know that Punk is, unfortunately, no longer part of the WWE, but the years he was involved left some incredibly memorable moments. Probably classed as some of his best heel work, Punk took his feud with Undertaker to some pretty serious levels. This involved mocking Taker about the real-life death of Paul Bearer, who had been Undertaker's mentor for many years, and he even went as far as to steal the urn containing Bearer's ashes, proceeding to pour the contents all over Taker himself. The self-proclaimed best in the world tried everything he could to rattle the dead man, and he came pretty close too. This would all lead to the battle at WrestleMania 29, which had a very real feel to it as far as feuds go. As the match began, Punk stayed with the disrespecting style, slapping Undertaker, which took a turn for the worse when Taker came back with a big boot to the face. This was a very back-and-forth match that included some fantastic segments. Punk going for the GTS only to have it reversed into a choke slam, a flying elbow into a table that didn't even buckle, a submission reversal that ended in an epic face-to-face moment. This match was stacked with great moments and had the crowd going wild for both superstars. The referee took a tumble and Punk took advantage, hitting Taker with the urn and pinning him in Undertaker fashion as if to mock the Phenom. After another great near fall, Taker kicked out and fought off Punk, managing to hit a tombstone to pick up the win. A great match with some fantastic timing from both stars, and probably one of the last really great matches Undertaker would have at WrestleMania.
3,
Versus Triple H, with special guest referee Shawn Michaels, Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania 28 in 2012. This was always going to be a memorable match involving three A-plus performers, legends with huge egos that clashed on the grandest stage of them all. For the dead man, this was his revenge for the humiliation he had suffered at the previous WrestleMania at the hands of none other than Triple H. And, well, for Triple H, this was a chance to prove to himself and everyone else that he was better than his good friend Shawn Michaels. That's a good enough matchup as it is, but then you add the one and only Shawn Michaels as a special guest referee, you're in for an even bigger treat. The match that was billed the end of an era was nothing short of breathtaking. This brutal bout between Undertaker and Triple H involved all kinds of hard-hitting moves and weapons. Chairs, hammers, steel steps, and the cell itself all came into play as the two veterans did everything in their power to dismantle each other. After some amazing back and forth, Triple H took a sledgehammer to Taker, and as Michaels went to check on the Phenom, found himself locked into the Hell's Gate submission, followed by another Hell's Gate on Triple H. Michaels was knocked out, therefore no referee could give a count to the pin that followed, but in came Charles Robinson, landing what was a great 2 count. Unhappy with the official decision of a 2 count, Undertaker chokeslammed Robinson. By this time, Michaels was back up and planted a sweet chin music on the dead man that landed him straight into the pedigree by Triple H, probably the closest we've come to seeing the streak be broken before Brock Lesnar conquered it, of course. After several chair shots and a tombstone, Undertaker came out on top, bringing his WrestleMania winning streak to 20-0. At the end of the match, we witnessed all three men leave the ring together and stand at the top of the ramp to a huge ovation. No doubt one of the best WrestleMania moments to date, a great end to a great match.
2,
Versus Shawn Michaels, Hell in a Cell match at Bad Blood in 1997. To some, this is classed as the greatest Hell in a Cell match of all time. Not only does it hold that title, but it reigns in history as being the best ever of its kind. The feud between these two practically demanded the cell to be created. Michaels was European champion at the time and had backup in the form of Triple H and Chyna. He had also cost Undertaker the WWF Championship during SummerSlam '97, thus creating the feud between himself and the Dead Man, with a shot at being the #1 contender. With such a new, innovative match that no one had seen before, no one had any idea what was going to happen, but everyone knew that there was going to be some huge moments. Undertaker took control early in the match, attacking Michaels quick and often. During all the commotion, a cameraman was injured, forcing the cell door to be opened. As the two men took the brawl to the outside of the cell, it was only a matter of time before they headed up top. During this time, Michaels ended up hanging from the side of the cell, and Undertaker proceeded to stomp on his hand, sending HBK straight through the broadcast table. The match then continued inside the cell, but just when Taker was going to end the whole thing, the lights went out. Organ music began to play, and within seconds, red lights filled the room, and Paul Bearer stepped into the arena with the debuting Kane. The big red machine ripped the cell door off its hinges, assaulted the referee, and entered the ring, where he proceeded to tombstone The Undertaker, thus giving Shawn Michaels the victory and the #1 contender spot. Not only was this match entertaining and beautifully crafted, it's historic in so many ways. Out of all the Hell in a Cell matches that The Undertaker has been in, the first remains his greatest.
1,
Versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25 in 2009. Well, we've reached our final entry on our list, and what better match to have than Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25. 25 is seen as quite a momentous number in terms of age, but it was also huge for the WWE as they hit their 25th anniversary of the spectacle known as WrestleMania, and they knew they had to throw in something big, and what better way to go about it than making two legends who were driven by their egos collide in a historic matchup. As these two superstars traded blows, all of their experience, knowledge, and desire to win was on full display during the match. And when Shawn Michaels quoted that he had wrestled a near-perfect match, he wasn't kidding. The two men countered each other constantly, scouting the other's moves as they both tried to take control of the match. The dead man executed an explosive over-the-top rope suicide dive, and Michaels delivered a sweet chin music out of nowhere. Everything that occurred throughout was perfect and so unexpected from the two. Several tombstones and sweet chin musics were hit, all with incredible near falls, and the pair even traded blows while down on their knees, as if it were a final act of a long-fought battle. However, Michaels made his only mistake of the match when he decided to go for a moonsault over the top rope, only to be caught in midair by the dead man, who buried his rival with a tombstone pile driver. This was a historic match fought by two superstars who would constantly try and raise the bar throughout their careers. It was a climax of Undertaker's career and the beginning of the end for Michaels, and for that, it rightfully gets the top mention. Don't worry, this list isn't a top 10, as there are so many great moments to choose from. This is simply a list of what we think were some of the dead man's greatest matches and moments. Leave us a comment, tell us your favorite memories of The Undertaker and his incredible 27-year run with the WWE.
Don't forget to like us and subscribe for more Elite Facts.